Hi, I am Ajish Babu. Today we are going to learn about what is a constant and what is a variable in C Sharp. In the previous classes we have seen how to create a script file, and when you start writing the code in C Sharp, you will be using a lot of data. Like if you are making a game, there could be data which represents the score of a player or the name of the player or the current level of the player, etc. So while developing a game or an application, we constantly need to store some type of data. Okay, to store a data in an application, we can use either constant or a variable. So we will see what is the difference between a constant and a variable. So for example, imagine that your game has got 10 levels. Okay, so the total number of levels in your game is 10. So this is not going to change for the entire game. So you can store that data in a constant. You can also use the 10 as the value, or you can, when you are writing the code, you can use 10. But when someone else check your code, then he will not understand what is the purpose of that 10. Okay, so if you store that value in a constant, like the total levels is equal to 10, then it will be easy for that person to understand the purpose of the number 10. So now we'll see how we can write a constant in C Sharp. Okay, so here I am going to define a constant. Okay, so for defining a constant, you can give the keyword as const. Then I can give the type or the type of the value I want to store. So I will give it as integer. Okay. Then what is the name of that constant I want to store? Then I will give it as total level. Okay. Then I can give the value here. Total levels is equal to 10. Okay, and in the start, I will just print that value. If print total levels. Okay. Then when I play this, so you can see that in the console window, I got the message as 10. Okay, so I successfully stored the value of 10 in the constant value, the constant of total levels. Okay. So when you talk about this constant, from the name itself, you can understand that this value cannot be changed. Okay, so this is a constant value. So let me try to change the value now. Okay, so it is, I am going to give it as total levels is equal to 50. Okay, so right now you can see that I am going to change this total levels is equal to 50. Okay, so right now I am going to, so you can see that I cannot run this because I am getting an error here. Okay, because I won't be able to make the changes in a constant. And the another thing you have to remember is that when I declare this constant, I have to give the value for the constant also. So here you can see that I am not giving a value at that time when I declared that. So you can see that I am getting the error like you have to give a value. So let me try here. I am just giving here it as the value total levels is equal to 10. Okay. So here you can see it is not accepting because I have to give the value of the constant at the same time I declare that. Okay, so I have to give it like constant is total lives is equal to 10. Okay, so right now it is working fine. Now I will play this. So here you can see that I am getting the value of 10. So I hope you understood what is the purpose of constant. So if you want to give or store a value which is not going to change in the entire game or application, you can store that value in a constant. Next we will talk about what is a variable. So variable, from the name itself you can understand that using the variable we can change the value in the runtime or throughout the game. Okay, so for example I am going to define a variable. Okay, so for defining a variable we don't have to define it is like a variable, and unlike in the case of constant. So I can just give it as the type of that variable, that is I am going to store an integer value. Okay, so in integer I am going to give it as score. Score is I am not going to give any value also. So you can see that it is getting accepted. In the start function I am going to define it as score is equal to 0. When I am starting I am getting given the score as 0. Then I am going to print that like a score is, I will give it as score. Okay. So right now I am going to play this. So here you can see that I am getting the output as score is 0. And if you want to define or give the value at that time you declare this variable also, you can give that. There is no problem with that. So I can give the value for that variable the same time when I define this. Okay, so I will just play this. So here you can see that I am getting the value score as 0. And in the case of constant, we saw that we cannot change the value of a constant. So right now I am going to see whether I can change the value of the variable. Okay, so here I am going to give it as score is equal to, I am going to give it as 25. Okay. Now I am going to print this value. So right now you can see that my score is changed from 0 to 25. So you can see that I can change the value of a variable. So I will give you see one more example. Like in the next line itself, I am going to change the score from 25 to 50. Okay, so I will just run this. So you can see that right now my score is 50. Okay, so what happened is that in this line of code my score is 25, but in the next line of code I changed the value of score from 25 to 50. So when I change the value of the score or a variable, then the previous value will be replaced by the new value. So you can see that in a variable you can store only one value at a time. When you store a new value in that particular variable, then the old value will be replaced. So I hope you understood the difference between the constant and a variable. A constant is used when you want to store a fixed value, okay, that value which is not going to change. Then at that case you can use a constant. And if you want to store a value or a data which is going to change during the game, then you can use the variable. Okay, so you can see that the score is going to change all the time while you play a game. So at that case you can store that score in a variable. Now we will see the different types of variables. Okay, so here we can see that I created an integer type. Now if you want to store a string type, then you can just give it as string. And string is used for storing the text values. Okay, so you can just go for name is equal to just giving it as a G. Okay, so here I am going to give this as name is. Okay, so right now I am going to run this. So here you can see that I got the output as name is Ajish. But we will just see. So this is my string data type, and if I try to store a variable, a integer there, now we will see. We can see that whether it will be accepted or not, because you can see that I got the error like you cannot store an integer in a string. Okay, so a string data type is used if you want to store a text, and if you want to store a true or false value, you can use bool. Okay, then I can give a name like is alive. Okay, bool is alive. Okay, so I can just give the value as is alive is equal to. Okay, then I can just give that player is alive. Then I can just give a value as is alive. Okay. Now I will play this. So here you can see that I am getting the output as player is alive. Okay, so this way you can store different types of variables, and while you develop a game or application. Okay, so there are different types of variables you can use depending on your requirement. Like if you want to store a number, you can use integer. So integer is used when there is no decimal points, and if you want to store a number with a decimal point, you can use float. Okay, so in this way you can use different types of data, and we can use the variables to store different types of data. And if you want to store a data which is not going to change through the entire application or game, then you can use constant. So I hope you understood what is a constant and what is a variable. So thank you for watching this video. See you in the next class. Thank you so much.